knowledgeable, just a few of the traits that readers loved most about Gray Baskerville's writing in Hot Rod magazine. And if there was a hot rod out there, you knew all about it, whether it belonged to one of the most recognized shops in the industry or to an enthusiast who spent his life building it slowly as time and money permitted, and that's the case with most of the cars. His unmistakable writing style and enthusiasm were major influences throughout the hot rod era. Let's learn more about tonight's Hall of Fame inductee, Gray Baskerville, from his brother, Dave.
Gray and I were both born and raised in Hermosa Beach. And this is basically where he had his first encounter with hot rods. In fact, the first roadster that he really came across was a gentleman across the street had a 32 roadster, totally cherry vehicle. And they kind of both proceeded to build this car. And I remember the first time they fired it up, and my father came out and, of course, yelled and screamed that the car is making way too much noise. It was probably 10, 11 o'clock at night. Once he got out of college, he really found his niche by working with my father at the publishing company, and worked with a gentleman named Bill Bagnall on The Motorcyclist. And so Bill said, Gray, you better learn how to take photographs, because you not only are you going to write about them, but you're going to also take photographs of them. Ever since that moment, he became a photographer, and a very good one. My father retired, and Gray, of course, then was out of a job. He was lucky enough to catch on with Peterson Publishing, and Gray's car was that 32 Roadster. He drove that car, and Tom Medley saw the car in the parking lot. And I think he said, you know, if somebody's driving that car to work, he better work for Hot Rod. So this is where he got his big break of working with Hot Rod magazine. Cars were always what he was after, and he would pursue that all the time. He would leave super duper early on Saturday morning, jump into his roadster, and be off to see all his pals, and would go to their shops to see if they had anything new that, you know, on the horizon that he could come back and photograph and write a story about. There was something about Gray. He had that ability to take in a scene, write about it, and it came out so beautifully. You know, it was fun to read. Gray would have been truly proud to have received this award. I don't think he was ever thinking about this when he was doing his work with Peterson Publishing. And it just came about because he did a good job. But he would probably look out to all his hot rod pals and rub his hands together, scratch back of his head and other areas, and say, this is so fetching. He loved hot rodding. He really did.
You literally could describe Gray Baskerville as one of a kind, and accepting on his behalf tonight, we'll welcome to the stage his brother, Dave Baskerville. Before hot rod Rod magazine, Gray was a writer brought in custom. He loved cars, but jazz and gardening ranked up pretty high with Gray as well. As Dave makes his way to the stage, let me say on behalf of the entire journalist side of the industry, he was one of the most respected and most loved individuals in the entire hot rod hobby. And I'm going to ask a question of Dave Baskerville here, as we saw some rather unique photos of your brother up on the screen here just a moment ago. Was he always a fun-loving guy like that?
Always. Never a moment that wasn't always kind of exciting.
Well, I know he drove that car. I mean, I can recall the time because he had primer spots on it, they wouldn't let him park in the LA Roadster show. And that really upset him.
Yes, you know, when these vehicles pull up, they're always so pristine. Gray would pull up in his 32 Roadster, which the car had primer spots on it because my mother would run into it. Because he shared a parking spot with my mother, who wasn't a very good driver. And so he had them repaired by his pals, and never got them painted because he was waiting to get it painted by Junior. And it never happened. But the primer spots stayed there. And he drove his vehicle to various events, and they weren't accepted because he had the primer on him. Way over the top were the cars that were there. And so he just said, you know, they just don't get it. You drive your car.
That's right. And I guarantee you that was his philosophy. The other was, you could look at Gray Baskerville morning, noon, and night, anywhere, anytime, and Gray had on a pair of shorts and flip-flops. What was the whole story behind that?
He wanted to be casual, and he wanted to be comfortable, and he always dressed that way. And in the garden, he would not wear his flip-flops, he went barefoot. And he had a special chair in his home because when he came in, he was so kind of dirty from working in the garden that his wife Susan would say, Gray, go to your chair. And Gray would go to his chair, and he'd sit there. And he said, can I have my bourbon and water now?
What's your favorite memory of Gray?
There are many. There's a lot of them that I can't say about, but just that his enthusiasm for hot rodding, and all you people out there, he loved you. And hot rodding to him was number one. And you people recognize him makes me feel very good. And I know Gray is very, very happy.
Dave, we thank you very, very much. Mallory will escort you backstage, and she has the trophy for you. Dave Baskerville, and representing his late brother, Gray.